Hey everyone. Welcome to Fiction Flux. Hope you're all doing great today. We've got something really exciting lined up for you. Today, we're diving into a unique fanfiction scenario. What if Deku from My Hero Academia was the last Uchiha in Naruto? Sounds intriguing, right? Well, stick around as we explore this fascinating crossover and see how Deku's story might unfold in the world of ninjas. So, let's jump right into it and see how our favorite hero might fare with a touch of Sharingan magic. On that fantastic starry night, where the moon held court amidst the clouds, Izuku Uchiha faces tragedy. His breath whisked away as he entered into his home to see everything taken away from him. Izuku saw all of it entirely, all the blood, all the smoke, all the fire. He ran wildly through every district, store, school, and police station, finding everything on fire. He stood under a burning building, his home, ready to topple above him. The wood creaked and cried. It sobs as Izuku stands in disbelief. That night, many heroes couldn't believe that the Uchiha clan was gone and up in flames. The Uchiha were one of the oldest and strongest clans in Japan. In less than one night, it was all gone. The once proud Uchiha clan is nothing but blood and ash, and the only one who survived it was the child of the head of the Uchiha clan's son, Izuku Uchiha. There was a problem. He should have died along with them. Izuku lay on the floor, as the flames thrived and smoke ate more atmosphere. Izuku asked himself, why is everything happening? Why is the world taking everything away from him? A boom break shatters overhead as a beam splits off from the ceiling, toppling Izuku and trapping him underneath a pile of burning debris. Fire dances around Izuku. It laughs with glee as it creeps over the bodies of his parents lying in the room not too far from him. The roof erupted in a fiery blast, fragments of Izuku's life and memories scattered in all directions. The moon emerged, casting its light upon Izuku, offering a fleeting glimpse and staring at Izuku. The beam pinning Izuku down mysteriously lifted, separating itself from him. All Might stand above him with a smile of 1,000 suns, and the beam high above his head. He did not need to say his famous catchphrase, for All Might's presence already said it. In one scoop, All Might grabs Izuku and leaps from the burnt building into the triage center. Izuku watches as his home collapses in a massive ball of smoke and ash floating skyward. First responders take Izuku to Mustafa's General Hospital, with an oxygen mask on his face. They wondered how long the boy lay under the fire. Izuku steps into his classroom, his gaze fixed on the pages of a black book. His unruly, dark hair matches his disorganized appearance. He wore a black uniform. He wore it unbuttoned. Of course, the teachers always commented on his style, but it was his clothes. Anyway, the teachers should be lucky he came to school today. Izuku grew into a good-looking fellow. But Izuku didn't care about looks as long as he was comfortable. As Izuku strolled into class, his classmates whispered gossip, mostly likely untrue gossip. But who cared? They loved drama, and no one brings more drama than Izuku Midoriya, the adopted, rich, quirkless boy. Anyone who finds that tidbit out automatically distances themselves from him. Who wants to be near him? They say it all the time. Izuku's a troublemaker. He causes fights for no reason. They say Izuku Midoriya is in a gang. Be careful what you say around Izuku Midoriya, or he'll go berserk and beat you. Izuku barely considers All Might as any father figure. He has never been there. All Might may have saved Izuku, which he thanked him for. But that does not mean he has to like him. He does not take Inko's place. Izuku hates reminiscing, but staring at Katsuki's face brings a bit of malice against him. Before everyone learned of him, they were as thick as thieves despite being quirkless. Katsuki never cared about quirks until later, until people praised him like a king. Bloated his ego like an airship. Katsuki didn't know much about Izuku when they first met other than he had been through a couple of homes, so he heard from his mom. Katsuki first saw Izuku during the first year of primary school. One of Katsuki's buddies pushed Izuku around. He was twice the size of Izuku, yet he seemed unbothered. Izuku said something to his buddy that made him mad. He went for a large hook, but Izuku roared and struck him in the nuts. Despite his size, Katsuki's buddy dropped to the floor. Katsuki had never laughed so hard. Tears flew straight out of his eyes. He ran up to Izuku. "Hey!" Katsuki yelled. "That was some nice fighting." Katsuki slaps Izuku's shoulder. "You're my friend now. I am Katsuki Bakugo." Izuku hasn't smiled like that in a while. "I am Izuku Midoriya." It can never be like that anymore. After Izuku takes his seat, the teacher strolls into class with a stack of papers almost blocking his sight. The teacher hates drama, and Izuku causes the most drama. Therefore, he dislikes Izuku. Yet he keeps his personal feelings out of the workplace. Or so the teacher says. However, the teacher makes school horrible with extra work and after-school classroom chores every other day. Always volunteering him. It's always Izuku Midoriya. "Settle down, everyone. It's time for roll call." As the teacher calls for attendance, Katsuki burns holes into the back of Izuku's head. He can feel Katsuki staring daggers, but puts that thought elsewhere. School is more important than connections. It is a phrase Izuku tells himself one too many times. "You all may be seated," the teacher says. "You all are third years now, and it's time to think about your futures." He scoffs as a grin appears on the teacher's face. But who cares about that when everyone wants to be a hero? The class roars excitedly, showing off their quirks left and right, except Izuku and Katsuki. "All right, class, settle down. It's illegal to use quirks without a license. Now, I wanted to begin by saying..." The teacher takes a paper from the stack. "Oh my, Bakugo, I didn't know you were applying for UI. But I shouldn't be surprised by your quirk and skills." Bakugo leaps from his desk. "Of course, teach, I am the best. And to become the best, I must go to the best school. Then I will beat All Might and become the #1 hero in the world." "Oh, Midoriya applied for UA as well." The class halts any noise, and for a second, it's all peaceful. It was only for a second. The class explodes into laughter, a few drops to the floor. The laughter does not faze Izuku. He expected it to come. "Deku, why do you think your quirkless ass can compete with me?" Katsuki jumps from next to his desk and leaps past 2 rows of chairs, landing next to Izuku. He grabs Izuku by the collar and lifts him to his level. "Who do you think you are? You are not better than me. Let go, Kaken." Izuku says softly yet sternly, "I am not trying to compete with you. Teacher, please tell him which study I am applying to." The teacher takes a second read. Izuku Midoriya is applying to UA, not to the Hero Department. It says here he is applying under the General Studies Department. Katsuki lets go of Izuku's collar and returns to his seat desk. The tension is thick. One could only cut it with a sword. "You're lucky we're in the classroom, Deku." Class passes by rather quickly. Not quick enough. At dismissal, the teacher called Izuku to the front. "Izuku, you have to room clean up. Stay after class, and when you're done, come to my office and tell me before arriving home." Katsuki is gone and left with his clique, hyping Katsuki's everything. His quirk, his smarts, athleticism, everything you can name. Classmates left with friends. Even the loners called someone in another classroom. Then, it was Izuku who was left alone by himself. Izuku's room is dark. Unfamiliar smells and beeping attack at High's senses. A mask covers his mouth. Where is he? A window on Izuku's left shows the city lighting up like a Christmas tree. An unusual amount of helicopters soar through the air. They swirl around a massive red flare with floodlights, searching up and down the streets. As he looks down at his body, wires connected to more wires stick to him. The door on the far right corner slides open at the same, the light in the room turn on. It is a nurse, a lizard one at that, wearing teal medical scrubs. She has a clipboard. Her eyes meet with Izuku. "Oh my, you're awake," she says as she takes a TV, a controller-like object, from her pocket and presses it as if there was a button. "Hi, how are you?" Izuku couldn't speak. He didn't know what to say. What should he say? "It's okay. You do not have to speak. I am okay." Was that the right thing to say? He didn't know. But Izuku did not want to be alone. "You can speak," she teases. "What is your name?" Izuku takes a second before responding. "Izuku Uchiha." "Great. Now, Uchiha-san, can I get your father's and mother's names?" Izuku chokes when she said, "father and mother." His memories come back in full force. Their bodies are all black, no longer human, a blend of charcoal and blood. He watches their dead bodies before the fire gotten out of hand and takes away their love from him. "Don't ask such a triggering answer, Miss Na." A deep, soft voice enters the room, erasing the increasing brick climbing inside Izuku's throat. "Our patient here has just been through a horrible experience." "Sorry, sensei." Miss Na bows to the doctor. "No, apologize to Izuku here." Miss Na turns back to Izuku and bows. "Sorry, Uchiha-san," she says before leaving the room. The doctor is old and also a turtle. His wrinkles seem exaggerated, as well as his long white hair comes from the doctor's eyelashes and the side of the doctor's mouth. He wore a black turtleneck with a white surgeon's clock. "Izuku, could you tell me what happened tonight at home?" The doctor got closer, using his quirk to calm him. But it has no effect at first. Izuku's heart rate increases, so do the beeping. Whatever happened to him? Whatever trauma, Izuku is strong than his calming quirk. He feels sorry for the boy. "Itachi Nai." "What was that, Izuku?" "It was Itachi Nai. Itachi Nai killed everyone," Izuku says, tears rolling off his face. As those memories surfaced, torturing him every time he wanted to visit a happy memory. Why could he be a normal kid? The doctor's eye bulges to find out who killed the Uchiha. Izuku's own brother. The doctor must tell the police. That was the reason he came to the room. But who knew it was Itachi? The hero commission's favorite dog. Izuku would rather be the first to leave school, but his teacher has to make him a maid. Mopping the floors, wiping the desks, emptying the garbage cans, cleaning the chalkboard, and cleaning the chalk erasers. So much for one person. While Izuku would like to complain, no one would listen, much less humor him. Izuku takes it as it is. His phone buzzes inside his pocket. It is Inko, asking when he is coming back home. Inko is the most extraordinary woman he has ever met, taking in Izuku as her own, while already supporting her own child. No hero is braver than her. Not even All Might. As Izuku finishes up the classroom, he walks to his teacher's office, where he is there grading their tests from today. The teacher does not like Izuku for the trouble he brought. But there is one good quality: he has his grades are top tier. Only comparable to Katsuki. 3 knocks on the teacher's office, and he sees Izuku with bits of chalk in his hair and clothing. "I am done," Izuku says. Good. You may be off and return home. And please try not to get yourself into trouble, Midoriya. You're a good kid. Keep it that way." Once outside the school, Izuku marches home. But he does not take the fastest way home. Why? For the solidarity. Not many walk this path. There are fewer people, cars, and thugs, as well as classmates who will try to rile him up. From his bag, Izuku takes a black book out. Its words are almost impossible for anyone to read, except for an Uchiha. His eyes are one of the most enhanced in the country. While everyone in the world, other than a few, believes the lie that Izuku Midoriya is quirkless, Izuku practices every day. One day he will avenge his clan. Not today, not tomorrow, but within his life. Maybe Izuku will not avenge. Perhaps All Might will finally carry out his promise. Izuku comes to a little underpass that looks like it will crumble at any moment only supported by the weeds growing in its cracks and the pipes along the walls, ending at an opened maintenance hole cover. The pipes are old all-green copper. Izuku can hear the rickety pipes leak, especially the ones above, dropping the ugly green-gray sewer water. Izuku wonders how much maintenance is done here. Probably not much. The pipes must be broken. Large blobs of sewer water crash near him, buckets at a time. An ungodly odor rushes Izuku's nose, making him tear up. At least the exit is right there. He races for the exit, one foot in front of the other. Where are you going? A voice from the calls to Izuku as he looks up. A puddle hangs in from the pipes, stretching across the entire, sealing a smile ear to ear, matching with veiny bug eyes staring at him. It drops to Izuku's level, releasing water across the underpass with some landing on Izuku. From the blob, 2 tendrils sprout from its back. Its laugh shakes the loose pebbles. You look like a good enough shield to hide from himself. Now, be nice. This will only hurt if you struggle. Now die. The tendrils fly at him with jet-like speed inside the small cavern that is the underpass. In an instant, Izuku's eyes change form from opal to scarlet eyes with black comma shapes tattooed into the pupil connected by a single black ring. 2 commas on one eye and one on the other. The Sharingan. The tendril's immense speed disappears as Izuku easily evades the 2 tendrils. Izuku then makes a run for the exit. There isn't a way for Izuku to combat the villain. His body isn't solid. Izuku has no weapons because Inko will not let any take to school. At his level, Izuku could only dodge. But for Izuku, dodging is easier than breathing. What a rat. Just stay still, it said. As Izuku reaches the underpass's exit, he crashes into what feels like a brick wall. Do not worry, Izuku. All Might stand high over Izuku. The sludge monster drops his grin as he recalls its tendrils. A foreboding shadow blanks the monster. It wants to retreat, but fear clouded its mind. Nerves giving wrong orders, how does it get out? In a blink of an eye, All Might sprints to the villain with his arm cocked back, as a massive concussive force pierces through its liquid body. Sludgy swear water stains the walls, floor, and Izuku. Although it's not dead, it wishes it was. I'm sorry, Izuku, for letting you be caught in the middle of my chase. I hope he did not touch you. All Might tips a small bow toward Izuku as he reaches into his pocket, seizing 2 2-liter bottles. Could you do me a small favor and help me capture him? All Might says. Izuku isn't sure how to react. He evaded the villain's attacks for a few seconds, maybe less. All Might should work by himself for dirtying Izuku's clothes. Izuku decides to help him anyways. Everyone is dead. Izuku's eyes followed the streaks of blood to the center of the town. Flies buzzed by as he made it through the sea of bodies. He remembered every face. The old lady gave him some candy to pick up something heavy. The twins down the road were always hyper and fun to play with, and the store owner only had knives for sale. Numerous projectiles were scattered about, either sticking into walls or bodies. Sword cuts imprinted onto the old-style architecture tell Izuku how one-sided the fight was. His shoes couldn't help but step in blood as a wave of death rams through his nostrils. In an alleyway, a mother held tight to her son. Izuku was all the time at the playground, clutched into her arms as flies swarmed above. The moon kept the dark from censoring more scenes for the young boy. Izuku shook his head in disbelief and ran down the main street. After a few avenues, he turned right and passed the historic building and into a compound surrounded by high walls free from any gore. Izuku's home. Ragged breathing echoed through the entrance as Izuku took a recovering breath and screamed out for somebody. Hello, mother, father. Please say something. Anyone. Other than 2 dead Uchiha police officers, the house was almost untouched. Painting left at the exact angles mother out up, and ancient Uchiha weapons left on display. The kitchen was the same when Izuku left in the morning. The rickety floorboards creaked as always, showing Izuku the only door open. He swallows whatever liquid is stuck in his throat before entering his parents' meditation room. Izuku already knew the outcome, but he denied the thought. The room where he and his brother learned to channel their Sharingan, while their father judged not far from where his body lay. Next to him was his wonderful mother, who always lit the room with her smile. If they're dead, then what happens to his brother, Itachi? A solid wisp penetrates the sliding door, following a thud. Izuku's head cocked behind to see a burning flaming dangling off a kunai. It jumped to the wooden dacre and paper oriental hanging onto the walls. Picture frames burned along with happy memories as thick, black smoke began to surround the boy. 2 more kunai hurled as it released more of its sudden flame near Izuku's exit, trapping him inside. He looks left and right before deciding to jump through the sliding door and lands on his back facing the front gate. A quiet cry escaped Izuku's mouth as a stinging sensation flowed across his spine and back. In what seemed like a mere second, more than half of his childhood home was burning. Blue wisps of fire streaked across the air as a final goodbye. His parents' bodies were still inside. Izuku kept himself from hurtling through the burning house to retrieve dead people, even if they were his parents. He helped himself to his feet and passed his home gate. His home wasn't the only one burning. A tsunami of fire crashed on top of every building within the village. Other than the crackle of burning wood, everything was quiet. No human screams of terror or helplessness. He is the only one alive. Brim smoke crafted a blanket of visible smoke that cloaks the sky. Pops and thuds and crackles continued as Izuku's vision became blurred. His breathing goes heavy and even. The taste of blood and ash clogs his throat. Izuku collapsed to his knees. Who would do this? Izuku asks before falling unconscious as smoke and brim continue falling on top of him. Subconscious tears are dry on Izuku's cheek as the heat from his blazing childhood home. Helicopters chop over the Uchiha town, flashing bright floodlights, surveying the damage. What or who caused such sudden destruction? Heroes swatted through the massive wooden, etched with the Uchiha clan emblem in old kanji, and gone with hundreds of years of ancient history. The doctor scribbles on his clipboard with a bit of frustration. How Izuku explains the events is different from what the police reports. And he passed outside his home instead of inside. Izuku rarely mentions Itachi, yet he is the culprit according to Izuku. Something is wrong. The doctor erases and edits some of the details in the police reports. He's too nice, but the child should not get into more trouble. Not good for his health. The odor of sludge and swear sticks to Izuku like a bug to a window. Walking down his street where pets usually walk about. Not today. Izuku is sure that can smell him. How embarrassing. Izuku passes 3 houses before reaching his home. Inko will not like the story of how he got his stink. What story should replace the villain and All Might? Inko opens the door with excitement. The door slams into the side of the house as she flings her head toward the direction of Izuku. How did she know where I was? Izuku, get inside this instant, she screams. The neighbors look through small cracks attempting to watch what was occurring. They're annoying. Izuku marches inside, passing Inko, who covers her nose with both palms. He told me you would stink, but I didn't think it would be this bad. Go take a bath. All right, Izuku says as he strolls upstairs toward the bathroom. Hey, Mom, what happened? A girl younger than Izuku by a year or 2 exits the kitchen. A wall separated the entrance from the kitchen. Was that Izuku? She asks. Yes, it was. Inko looked away from her daughter, facing where Izuku was. What trouble did he do now? Nothing, Akane. It's not your place. Finish your homework over there. Alrighty, Mom. Steaming water smothers Izuku with a warm embrace. His hair pointed downward, filled with water and soap. A few bubbles float by popping once reach a foot away from the bath. The stink was still there. Izuku did not want to imagine what flowed through the sludge villain. Shit. Most likely shit and piss. Bakugo appears inside his head again. He's being more difficult than he should be. Maybe he was wrong to not tell his friends about his quirk. It might have been able to save their friendship. Quirks didn't matter back then. But they wouldn't have met if his family didn't die. Izuku didn't like to think about that night. It's fuzzy. The only part Izuku remembers was the fire and wood and All Might saving him. Izuku reads somewhere your brain will protect you from traumatic events. Maybe that was an example. Not able to remember a mother's proud face or a father's sharp eyes burning holes through his skull. Izuku mustn't forget he has a new family just as good as the last. Izuku stares at his pruny fingers rubbing against one another. He should get out. But the heat locks him into the bath. Suck it up, Izuku, he says to himself. Life is hard. Get used to it if you haven't. He finishes the bath not much later. Dressed in his home clothes, Izuku comes to the first floor as a beautiful aroma fills the air Inko's cooking. He loves it. Izuku sneaks past Akane, whose eyes are glued to a new anime displayed on the TV. As he enters the kitchen, Izuku sees the concoction Inko is crafting. Udon noodles smothered in liquid onion seeds and garlic butt. The texture has a terrific brown texture as bits of celery, onion, and mushrooms stir around the pot. Hi, Izuku. I guess you're hungry after today. I didn't have the ingredients for katsudon, Inko says. But I hope udon is a nice replacement. Of course, anything you make is great. Izuku gives Inko a tiny grin before return back to the living room. Akane, what show is that? He asks. Izuku hops onto the couch next to his sister. She leaps into the air for a second as the force from Izuku's landing throws her into the air. She lands with an annoyed gaze before looking back at her show. It's nothing you'll like, she says. Try me. You don't know what my preferences are. That's where you're wrong, Izuku. I know what you like. And it's not TV shows. You like books and heroes. They need to get revenge because they're the main character. They get it as well as a lesson. Unlike you. You like books that achieve your dream. I do know you, brother. What do you know? Izuku says, his face contorting into a smug one like he's above Akane. That's not true. And Izuku knows it. A wave of soothing spills into his heart, but is beaten back by Izuku's anger. He becomes neutral once more. He shouldn't feel angry at his sister. Even if they're not of blood. They are all Izuku has left. Why did you use your quirk against me? Don't answer. I know why. I'm sorry. Akane holds her knees within her chest, looking toward the television. I know Izu, she responds. Izuku is blessed to have a sister like Akane, and her quirk makes his complex emotions, which smash and contradict one another like bugs on a windshield. Akane can push and pull emotions, only a tiny bit. Like her mother, who can only pull small objects toward her, she can calm or excite others' emotions. She has enough practice with her brother. Izuku, Akane, time for dinner, Inko screams from the kitchen. Akane was the first to leave the table. Why do I have to be such a jerk? She knows your pain almost more than Inko or All Might. Do tell her. What do you know? Think before acting, Izuku. Izuku rises from the couch, following his sister. 3 plates were set for him, Akane and Inko. Inko and Akane already took her seat, next to her mom. The table is silent. Izuku, how was school today? Inko asks. All right. Had to clean the classroom again. Other than that, school was all right. You know, Izuku, you can be more trusting with us. We're not going to leave you, Akane says. Say something. I can feel your feelings. They're storming like a hurricane around you. I see a small child, you, crying at the center of the storm. Memories swirl in and out as red. Hot anger speaks to you on your shoulder, while your sense of normalcy attempts to swim out from the sea of guilt. I know you. Stay out of my damn head. Izuku jumps from his chair, tossing his plate to the side. It breaks on the wooden floor, leaving the sweet food. Izuku didn't take a bite yet. Izuku, what's wrong with you? I try to be a mother to you, and you can't say the truth. It's been years. Every night, when you sneak out, Akane cries in her bed. Grasping her blankets and pillows, those feelings inside of you are dangerous. Please share some of your pain. No words escape from Izuku's mouth as he storms back upstairs into his room. He was a jerk once more. Inko stares into her daughter's tearful face. It's okay, Akane. We have to stay strong. For his sake. Izuku doesn't know what good it'll do him to finally let go of the past. I'll see if Toshinori can look for him tonight. No other survivors. Only charred corpses remain. All Might saw two bodies hugging until the end. He can't imagine what thoughts ran through their heads as their murderer or murderers took their lives. A smoke-covered All Might strolled through the Uchiha Square. Weapons littered the area, and blood puddles that were now dry stick to everyone's boots. The Uchihas didn't stand a chance. He looks at the starry night, watching clouds fly under the moon, blocking a bit of his sight. How is the boy? All Might wonders. He hopes the fire didn't do him harm. One would think after witnessing so many deaths, it would dull the ache in All Might's mighty heart that is just wrong. His smile still gleams inside the twilight, keeping the search parties some strength. All Might is their beacon. It's 3 hours since they arrived at the Uchiha village outside the city. All Might got the word that the Uchiha police division is gone. They're in the same condition as the village dead. How did the division die? The Uchiha police are as effective as heroes. This wasn't some random attack from deranged villains believing to be mightier than the world. This was coordinated. All Might thought only one man with a possible manpower and resources to launch an attack on this scale. But it's impossible. The man is dead, killed by All Might himself. Yet a foreboding feeling soaring over him said otherwise. All Might, an Empt runs up behind All Might. I want to thank you for your help, and to say that your heroes are no longer needed. We have enough manpower to continue the search for survivors. I do not mean to come off as rude, but may you leave the area. Maybe go check on that boy you saved a while ago. Or get some rest. You look like you need some. All Might stares at the Empt fit, a second with no grin. The night coated his face with a layer of black. The Empt's heart begins to run as All Might's eyes gaze into his soul. Of course, All Might says as his regular grin returns. I bid you good night. Why did I leave them? Why can't I tell them anything? They're my family. Izuku, quit it. Just let them in. How hard can it be? Akane is right. A storm of emotions flurries with Izuku. He hasn't changed. Izuku is just the same kid crying for his dead parents. He can't do anything right. The darkness of the night seeps into Izuku's room as a red hue illuminates his eyes. His Sharingan reveals itself in full force, reaching his conflicting emotions. The room is too small for him. They can't contain Izuku's quiet outburst. Izuku pulls the window open as a draft of calm wind thrashes against his face, throwing papers and small trinkets. He looks to the door. Behind is his family, the same family who cares for and loves him for all his many faults. Why are they so accepting of him? Izuku leaps through the window, flying with the currents. For a second, he is free. Free of all of his anger, guilt, sadness, indecisiveness, and worry. All of it was gone in that second. Everything returns as he crashes and rolls across the street. The asphalt scratches Izuku's skin, while his head bangs against the sidewalk. He sees 3 of everything. The world is turned upside down. The Sharingan flashes, and his senses return. A small streak of scarlet blood leaks down Izuku's temple. He can't stay here. He speeds down the street with untapped strength, accelerating Izuku. Like a machine, Izuku's body keeps an immense pace as flashes of fire spear through his mind. Izuku laughs with his brother, but he is stripped from his mind as he wakes up alone under a grass field, watching the violet hue clash with orange paints over the horizon. The road ceases, replacing a thick dirt road passing through a field of ancient, titanous trees. How long has he been running? His breath left him like a boiling kettle. Sweat beads run down his neck and underarms as the fantastic night gropes his warm body. Izuku didn't bring his phone, and he never wore a watch. The moon is out in full force, illuminating the night. His eyes won't listen to him. They are still there. Turn off. Wind currents drag forest debris over the bright moon, while the night hawks soar through the twilight featuring prey. Should he go back? No, not now. Maybe never. Why is he thinking such thoughts? If he runs away every time life gets tough, then what? Has he ever stood firm against an unstoppable force? When was the last time he wasn't dragged under the inescapable sea of guilt too thick to swim out of? Yet, Izuku knows there is a way for him to continue. There is hope. Hope, that's all Izuku has been doing. His entire life, Izuku hoped for a blessing, a miracle, or a hero. Hope his brother wasn't a mass murderer who killed his mother and father. Hope his brother wasn't the person he sent down this path. How cowardice. The trees dance with the circling wind as nature's nightly music surrounds Izuku. Red eyes. These eyes are more of a curse than a gift. Sometimes, Izuku wants to rip them out. So much blood came from them. It's cold. He should go home. He knows they will accept him. Izuku must apologize. The trees are strong. Stronger than Izuku will ever be. Being like a tree should be something Izuku should strive for. Yet they're so stationary, unable to deroot themselves and haul elsewhere. Birds can escape to any place, anywhere, anytime. Maybe being a bird would allow Izuku to have that escape from everything. His seriousness is only a facade. The true him lies in anxiety. He's stuck in the past. That black book of his is the only thing connecting him to his Uchiha roots. It's so hard to read without a Sharingan. Can he escape? Maybe escape isn't what Izuku should look for. His past hurts, yet there is something good about remembering their faces. Look past those charred bodies and bleeding walls. He doesn't only remember the worst of times, but he also remembers the best of times. Every hug, every smile, every game Izuku played with the other children, the school he used to go to. They may be gone, and Izuku may be empty without them in the present. There are times when Izuku cannot go on without them. How much can these ugly feelings go away? The present should be just as great as the past, if not more. His future is outlined. A new family is there to support him and his dreams. There is no need to rely on the past to continue moving forward. But there isn't any point in forgetting it. Birds have too much freedom. Tree, however strong they are, full of ignorance and stubbornness. Izuku can't have that. You're bleeding, Izuku. A deep voice rings through Izuku's head. Red streaks dissipate as Izuku looks around, trying to find who said those words. Or is he finally going insane? Izuku. The voice is there again, sounding like the wind bouncing off steel plates. I hope you have not forgotten about me. The voice is clear in tenor. You should head back, Izuku. It's cold. Mother and father wouldn't like it if you ended up sick. The drums inside Izuku's heart start louder and more intense rhythmic beats as his vision goes out of focus. Darkness seeps from all sides while his gut starts pulsating. 1,000 slow stabs. That's how it feels. The floor beneath Izuku is gone. He starts falling into an infinite, black abyss. 1 billion Sharingan come into view, watching with disappointed stares as the skies contort into red skies. Swirls of black and red twist around Izuku, dragging him under a funnel before a bright light blinds Izuku. He still falls. Izuku slams into shallow water thicker than water, but lighter than blood. The moon is above him, so bright, so tainted as streaks of yellow branch away from the moon like light beams down onto the earth. Izuku is not trying to swim, but a barrier keeps him from diving deeper. Everything feels void. The billions of Sharingans override the red sunset like sky blended with hues of orange. the red liquid crawls onto Izuku. It begins to transform, morphing into humanoid figures. Their faces bubble and explode. Why did they look like that? Their faces, every single one, was an Uchiha he met. Mother, father, the store owner, his school friends, the mother hugging her child in the alley. All of them, crying and cheering bloody murder. Their overlapping voices strike his ear. It's all deafening. Young and old, deep and soft, familiar and lost. These voices all say the exact words. Why do you run? Then came Izuku's brother, not formed from the same liquid. No, his face, that face is something unforgettable. Bloody. The face of a massacrer returning to finish his work. From the palm of his hand is a sword covered in blood. Points at Izuku, and in a singular moment, his brother impales Izuku. I am watching. Izuku awakes in a field of damp grass outside the city, at least an hour or two away from his home. His head covered in sweat, the moon is 2/3 of the way west. His head bangs. His heartbeat echoes up his skull and shakes his skull. Izuku looks around. There's a street past the hill with cars that pass by every hour or two. What happened? Izuku's skull hums, numbing. Sweat rolls down his cheek as Izuku baskets in the gleaming moonlight on top of large hills of grass dancing to the wind. Izuku found himself nowhere. What was this place? A few trees stand tall near him. What happened to the forest of giant oak? His head aches as if it were to explode. Izuku's throat was drier than a raisin. He strolls past the dancing hills and sees a bus stop far and small, stalled beside an unkept road. Crickets sing a hymn across the sky. City lights illuminate miles down the road, seeming so tiny that Izuku could grasp every building in his palm. His clothes are wet and covered in mud. His shoes are gone. Izuku left and leaped from his home with nothing to protect his feet. What a fool he is. He mustn't stand here any longer. Daybreak occurs in a few hours. That's when Inko will awake and be ready for work. She continuously checks upon Izuku during his sleep before leaving. Sometimes she's too good. Izuku stretches his arms and legs, pulling any stiff muscles. Hopefully, there's a bus coming soon. There was no way Izuku could run home, not in time. He springs into action, wind wiping by as he rushes past the hill onto the road in half a minute. Izuku halts himself just before the asphalt, taking a second to catch his breath. He looks both ways, but to his dismay, there aren't any buses, most likely not until morning. The gleaming moonlight disappears as gray storm clouds clashing against one another hover over it. Thunder grumbles, and a fresh, early aroma invades his senses. It's raining soon. A flash of lightning strikes the city, cutting the power to her lights while the thunder rolls. Izuku quickly stands under the bus stop with a short, punctured canopy and one long bench. Izuku scans his wear again. A dirty, muddy, white shirt half with torn jeans sticking to his skin. He slants back, leaning on the walls of the bus stop. A bus brakes in front of him, as if someone teleported it there. Its doors swing open, showing a man in blue. He gestures for Izuku to enter. Immediately, Izuku searches around the bus and bus stop. Where does it come from? The bus engine roars, but it was silent only a minute ago. Enter, kid. The driver says, "This is my last route, and I was to go home." His voice is crisp like he was dehydrated. Izuku waits a moment to inspect every part of the bus and her driver. Suddenly, thunder cracks and rain begins to pour heavily. He slowly shuffles into the bus. The driver's broad smile is cracked and untrustworthy. His eyes are red, and his hair is white. He has two hands latched onto the wheel, but he has one finger of each hand covered in black tape for some reason. A buzzing sensation resonates throughout Izuku's body. Something isn't right. Something about this bus is wrong. Not only did the bus feel bad, but the rest of the night. And the pulses in his brain are unyielding. Izuku wanted to rip his eyes out and smash his skull until the pulsation and humming stopped. His body was still numb from something. Was it that dream? Where to? The driver hums, enthusiastic to do his job. Izuku snaps out of his head. Take me near Tatooine Station, and I'll figure it out from there. All right then. The bus hisses as it roars and moves down the one-way street. Rain pitter-patters and smacks along the windows while thunder cranked again. The hairs on his back stand. They tingle, tingles that you would want to scratch, but never go away appear. The bus is empty. It's also spotless, and the windows have been recently waxed, while the seats and every surface have been wiped. There's a smell of pine. The driver didn't ask any questions or comment about Izuku's dress. Maybe he wants to get the job over with already. The bus departed no longer after Izuku got on. The engine coughs worse than an 80-year-old smoker as black smog barely visible explodes from the backside. The bus begins to move. Izuku hung onto one of the railings on the roof. They passed the rolling hills. Every grass blade waved and danced as he left. The white-haired bus driver softly sang a familiar tune. Izuku didn't like it. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. It was like a whisper that tickled Izuku's ear. Izuku stared at the driver through the rearview mirror. His hair is a mess. Strands stood in every direction, and his bangs hovered over his eyes. It's impressive how he could drive. Then Izuku saw his face. A small scar ran over his nose, and his lips were dry and chapped. Finally, there was his smile. Why did he have to smile in such a way? Those teeth showed behind his lips, and his tongue was ugly. The smile made him feel unsafe. It was not a smile of happiness or satisfaction. It was something Izuku had seen before. The smile for combat. The bus entered the city. Cars parked on the sidewalk as streets lit the darkened streets. Office buildings covered every corner as a massive sign reflecting moonlight welcomed them into Mustafu. There isn't a single soul on the streets. No heroes leaping from roof to roof. Not even a single police vehicle was patrolling the streets. The stars shined bright. At that moment, for some reason unknown to Izuku, he thought about All Might and the day he first met him. If he remembers correctly, All Might constantly visited him in the hospital after he rescued him. His child self was so happy. What happened to their good relationship? Izuku shook his head. He remembers. There's no way Izuku could forget. How dare All Might take responsibility for him and leave him alone in a home for days, barely spending time with him. And then, one day, he stopped coming back. Finally, the door opened. Izuku ran up, believing it was All Might. But it was his good friend, Izuku Midoriya. Her husband was a hero, and she took great care of Izuku from that day on. A red light stops the bus. Izuku looked both ways, while the bus driver chuckled for a single moment. He had one entire hand off the wheel. He started digging into his pocket. He released a sneeze as he grabbed a pen from his pocket. "Excuse me," the driver asks as he takes a pen and paper from the compartment above him. "Do you know what street Tatooine Station is on?" Izuku let go of the railing and stepped forward to the driver. Another finger released from the wheel, and the driver scooted closer. He pushed the pen and paper to Izuku. The driver only had 4 fingers on the paper, holding back his pinky. The smile widens from ear to ear. Izuku locked eyes with the driver as the smile sent an unbearable pang in his head. Izuku blinked hard. Izuku's hands wrapped around his head. It was like 1,000 swords stabbed his brain repeatedly. He falls backward into the chairs. The driver cocks his head left and laughs again. "So it's working, huh?" The driver gets up from his seat, opens the door, and leaves the bus, cackling like a madman. "Have fun, Izuku Midoriya. Or should I say Uchiha?" the driver said with venom. His eyes, Izuku's eyes, are on fire. They burned like melting steel. His heart flutters as his leg gives out. Izuku falls to his knees. Then, his throat began to feel the fire. Izuku started to cough, a nasty mucus cough that cemented to his chest. The world swayed, and the bus twisted like a coursing river. Everything began to blur. What is happening to him? The ground began to shake. The bus started shaking. Something monumental is coming his way. He has to get out of here now. Massive echoes exploded outside. Izuku lifts himself from the railing and leaps out the open door. His arms slide against the asphalt. Black gravel slices his elbows as red blood leaves the top of his skin. Water grasps his feet, and the chilly air gropes his skin. Izuku cannot see anything. He's blind. He leaps to his feet and dashes forward. Being able to see isn't as important as leaving. Izuku stumbles to his feet and dashes straight. Where was he? Where did the driver halt them? The bus frame breaks down and collapses. Izuku hears the glass shatter across the gravel. The metal screeches and tears apart as an explosion booms behind him. A shockwave tosses Izuku off his feet and into a muddy puddle. He could taste the garbage sewer waste mixing with old gasoline. The wind dances on his spine. His clothes have been blown away as lacerations leak warm blood fleeing from him. A sharp pain stabs Izuku's liver. A terrible roar wrenches his ears. The horrible noise rumbles his organs as it bangs against his brain. Izuku brings himself back and pulls himself up. He takes a moment to resolve himself. His eyes are glued shut. Something massive is behind him. Its heart drums an echoing rhythm, a hunting beat that makes his skin crawl. Then, his own heart grows cold. His breath is slow. Izuku's elbows pang as the gravel sinks deeper into the skin, rummaging through his flesh. His eyes cry. Izuku swallows a deep breath. Finally, he sprints. He can remember before they stop. Empty roads surrounded by bland and empty business buildings. They plowed through green light after green light. Izuku stared at an alleyway before the fire claimed his eyes. Rain splatters against old iron garbage cans. As water streamed from the gutters, the reverbs of the rain bouncing off the rusted pipes sing through Izuku's ears. Run, run, run was all Izuku could think. Even as color returns and the alleyway begins to take shape. As Izuku ran, his heart pounded against his chest, matching the rhythm of his pounding footsteps on the wet pavement. The rain continued to pour down, soaking him to the bone. But he dared not slow down, his breaths ragged and desperate. His mind raced, trying to make sense of the chaos that had unfolded in a matter of moments. The alleyway seemed to stretch endlessly before him, its walls lined with graffiti and garbage strewn about. Shadows danced ominously as lightning illuminated the path ahead. Izuku's eyes darted around, searching for any sign of safety, any escape from the looming threat he felt behind him. Each step felt heavier than the last, his body weary from the intense strain. His elbows throbbed from the gravel embedded in his skin, but the adrenaline pushed him forward. He couldn't afford to stop, not when whatever chased him might catch up at any moment. The echoes of the explosion and the roar of something colossal still reverberated in his mind, haunting him as he sprinted through the narrow passageway. His thoughts jumbled together, trying to piece together what had happened on that bizarre bus ride, the eerie driver, and the beast. Despite the pain and confusion, Izuku pushed forward, his determination fueled by survival instincts. The rain continued its relentless assault, masking any sounds that might have alerted him to danger. With each passing second, the weight of the situation bore down on him, urging him to find refuge, to find answers. And then, he saw a faint glimmer of light at the end of the alley. A way out? A sanctuary? He didn't know. But he had to take the chance. Colors are slowly returning. Izuku could make out shapes. Although he does not understand what he sees just yet, Izuku attempts to anyway. Summoning every ounce of strength left in him, Izuku pushed harder, his legs burning with exertion. The light grew brighter, offering a beacon of hope amid the storm. With a final burst of energy, He burst through the alley's exit, stumbling onto a deserted street. Gasping for air, Izuku collapsed to his knees, rain pouring down on him, mixing with tears of fear and relief. He glanced back, half expecting to see the monstrosity that had pursued him. But the alley remained empty, except it was worse. He doesn't use his eyes or move an inch forward. Izuku knew he was trapped. He could feel the flames as the smog and smoke invaded the air, and his lungs a ring of fire made of crushed cars with people inside. The fire grew high into a massive torrent of fire impossible to go through. There was an earthquake behind him. He's trapped. Where are the heroes? With a fire this big, there should be a hero, one of the late-night heroes who roam and guard the night. Why is everything so empty? It arrived when Izuku's vision fully recovered, and the beast came. It's massive and muscular. Izuku watches the thing with amazement as his silhouette stands small. It's hot. A stinging burn prickles Izuku's back. A sudden feeling stuffed his chest, a feeling that had not shown itself in many years' fear. His hands shake. What is he supposed to do? Should he fight with no quirk to continue to protect his identity? No, that doesn't matter. That bus driver already knew who Izuku was. Damn it, why now? Why did it happen after he left home? How did they know Izuku's home? How long have they been watching him? Who are they? It didn't matter now. Asking questions will not save Izuku's life. As of now, no will is coming to save him. Izuku has one option: to fight. Izuku shuts his eyes and waits for 2 heartbeats. A scarlet shine bursts from him as the moonlight shines overhead. Izuku Midoriya is gone for tonight. And Izuku Uchiha reveals the bloody Sharingan in its full glory. This is a fight for survival, a fight Izuku has to win. And that's a wrap for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed this twist on Deku's story. Drop your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. I love hearing from you. Until next time, keep your imagination soaring and see you in the next video.